So hello guys, we're going to be working on puzzles today, and I'll be doing. Let's see if we can be able to do 5 puzzles in a row. We're going to see if we can be able to make something nice out of it. So let's get the video started. And before we get started, make sure if you like the video, you can share it with your friends, like, subscribe, and also it would be nice if you can be able to watch the end, so you can have some few ideas and also drop your suggestions in the comment section below. Thank you very much. So let's start the video. I think my internet is kind of all right. So we have this movement here. What can we do? All right, we can actually get the queen to this point, and well, I have a feeling that would be pointless. Okay. Well, if I just take, I'll be having this file covered, and the king can come to this point. Well, if the aim is to win the queen, that's the only way. Right? Checkmating idea. So you can get this guy here, and the queen takes, and then we take the queen, and then there's a threat here. So the king actually would need to either come here, which is already covered, and he can't get to this point, so he'd have to come here, which okay, which can be taken care of by bringing this guy here. If the knight takes, then if the knight takes, then we can recapture with the bishop with the rook. Or if the okay, yeah, the king can't come this way, so I think the way we can do this is by using this, and so that when the queen takes, we can then recapture, posing a threat here, and then the king comes down here. We can bring this what's the name, we can bring the bishop right to this point to cover this file the more, and then once the king moves down again, we can then move this guy to this point, so it threatens the king. I think the king will be able to move this way. Are you sure? Let's have that. Let's have that. Okay. I think I was overthinking that. That was actually straightforward. Okay. Now we have this. What can we do? We can go to this point, but then we have 2 threats to our knight, one here and one here. So I think a better way for us to go about this, if we take here, if we take here, the king will take. We can get a check at this point, but then we lose our knight. So how do we do that? We can actually do this, right? We take here, the king takes, and then we bring again to this point. So the king will have to, let's say, move to this place. Then we can now check the king. I think that's a useless move anyway. All right. So I think I found something. If we take this guy here and the king takes, because the king can't get to this point now, right? So the king takes back. The king has to take. So the king takes here. We can we can then okay, yeah, the king takes, then we bring this guy here. The king would have to move out to this, let's say to this point. We can then move the bishop this way, so the king would have to either come down, or the king would have to either come down or get to somewhere like this at this point here. I think that's the best move. Let's go for it. Okay, that was wrong. Let's go. Oh right, that's true. I didn't see this at the beginning. I think that was a no-brainer, but I didn't see it. I think this is the move here. If we move this way, the queen can only attack us, right? But it doesn't change the check on this point. So we can move the knight here, and then the king would have to move to this point here. So what we're going to do after that movement, and we have to think about that. Um, I think we can then be able to do this. The knight is here, so he covers this point and this point. If we take it from here, and then the king takes, we can then deliver another check here, which would cover both this point and all this point. So let's have that. Right. Okay, so you see that I didn't actually even think about the queen, because I know that this queen isn't going to really be an issue. Okay, so that's that. We actually lost our streak, which is very bad. I think I would have to look at that very very properly next time. So the pawn is moving, is heading for the back rank. What is the only path forward? Hmm. We already have this. If we go ahead, right? If we go ahead, this rook here serves as a protection for like our movements. But if we were to go ahead, we can only move this guy or the rook. So there are two options. Either we check the king. If we check the king, he would have to move away. I think that's a good option, because if we check the king, he would have to move away. This guy here can't take from the back, so we can be able to check the king and make him move away. Problem is that if we check the king that way, he can just easily come down. He can easily come down actually. So what do we do? Okay, I think, but if we move this way, the king can't collect. Well, the king can still take. You get? I think that's a better way of doing it. The king, if we move this way, yeah. Okay. I move again. So yeah, we're going to move this way. If I check the king straight up, the king would take, and then we have a chance of winning the. Okay, I don't think we can be able to win the game like that. So there are a few options there. We can either move to check the king directly, or make a move towards this side, which would enable us to promote this piece, and then right, so I think that's the way. I think the only thing is that you just want to know if you're going to take this point, or you're just going to check the king immediately. If you check the king immediately, we're actually making things harder for ourselves. We're actually moving the goalposts, right? Because if we check immediately and then we promote, the king can always come down and prevent any other thing. But if we move this way, okay, we can actually have this double, this rook and this stuff here, so that when we promote, we can get her here. If the king moves down, we can then move the rook down and block this path here. I think that should be the way. Damn it. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. That means it's only the check that is the way now. That's crazy stuff. Okay. So I think the only reasonable thing to do right now is to take the knight. I don't think we can be able to get 5 in a row this time around, but let's still try. Okay. Alright, so this guy takes right. If we break we can actually take to this point. If we take this point, we're actually doing it's a useless fork anyway, but we can actually take to this point. If we take to this point, he can't take, right? He can only move this way or come back. Okay, he can't come back down because of the protection at this point. So at this file, it can only move to this point when we take this place. So when we do that, we can then move the knight this way. Is that the sure way? Move the knight this way, then yeah, you can move the knight this way instead of the up. Yeah, they would both cover the same point. So let's go. So yeah, let's move. If we come to this point, we are taking the queen. We're checking the king, and then we can be able to move upwards after that. Once the king moves to this point, so when we do that, we've done the check. That's made. Then if we have this situation, we can attack, right? Finding the right attacking idea. We can actually come down. If we come down, the queen can take, and then we have no backup, right? So I think the better way for us to do this is to check the king. What if we check the king by moving the queen? Oh, we can't move the queen that way. Right, but we can actually move this way, having this queen attacked. So if the queen takes, we can then take, and then we won't be up material. If we bring her here, that's a way to actually be up material. Okay, we would still not be up material. Is this? I don't think it's even meant to be up material. Something for okay, yeah. This is better. So we can move the queen here. We can move the queen here, so that we have all these spots covered. All right. So the king would be forced to move to this point here. Can't move here because when we move the queen here, it's protected by this bishop, right? Can't move here. Can't move any other point aside from here. Then we can move this rook here. If we move the rook to this point, the king can come here. So what do we do after that? Well, let's try. Right. So what do we do? Do we do the rook? If we take the rook this point, the king can just the king can that should be the end now, right? So the next point is for us to win material. So how do we ensure we do that? Well, this will be the most useless move here. So we can actually do How do we win material? We need to find a way to win material. So we can be able to do it in one of many ways. We can be able to take from we can be able to take from let's say we move to this point. No. Mm. If we come here, we're placing an attack here, but it's futile. It's futile if you place an attack here, because if the queen takes and we take, in fact, our queen is even in danger, right? Our queen is in danger, so I think what's going to our queen is in danger, because if this guy takes, we can only take, and then they will be off material because they have a queen already in place. So how do we deal with this situation? I really don't have an idea at this point. I don't know if the best idea would be to just take the queen to this point, then queen takes, we take, and then no, the bishop is covering this point. So what do you guys think? Let's take the hints, because I'm actually dumbfounded right now. Hmm. Yeah, that's the problem with capturing your rook, right? They are suggesting that I capture the rook. Okay, the issue with capturing the rook is that once we capture the rook, this rook takes, and then we take, and then it's actually a good idea. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about it that way. Hmm. Fuck. All right. I think that's it. Yeah, you should know why I took the initiative of taking the knight instead. Anyway. All right. So black to move. Okay. So if we were to do this, we can have the queen come to this point and attack, and then yeah, she'll be protected. So yeah, that's a no-brainer. Alright, so can move the queen to this point. When the queen to this point is covered, can only go back. Goes back. Then what would be it? What would be the next move? Or should we take? Yeah, it's better instead of doing this, right? To give a leeway for escape, we can actually take this point, and then when the king comes down, we will then go to this point right here. That's good. Let's just end the video here, guys. We weren't able to get to 5 streak. I would really have loved to continue, but let's just end it here for the sake of time. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, you can drop in the comment below. Thank you, and God bless.